With that being said, allow me to start. My parents are divorced and have been for almost 7 years now. They split due to Dad not being home for his kids at all. He's self-employed and chooses his own hours to work. However, he'd work every day of the week, waking up at 10 after me and my sisters went to school and getting home at 8 or 9 p.m. when we were already preparing for bed. So when I say my mom was a single parent despite being married, I mean it. She's my idol, and I look up to her so much. Anyway, after the divorce, the court arranged that there would be equal custody over us 3 kids. We would stay with Mom for 1 week, then Dad the next, and so on. But it wasn't true equal custody. Due to the hours my dad chose to work, us kids had to walk back to Mom's new flat, where we would be fed, she'd help us with homework, etc. Then, at 9 p.m., Dad would come collect us and we'd go straight back to his house to sleep. Weekends would just be us, kids in his house alone all day while he worked. But at night, that was when it got worse. See, my dad is incredibly insecure. As such, he insisted I leave my phone downstairs to charge on the nights so that you aren't on it all hours of the night. He promised me he wouldn't go through it as he, A, had no right to, and B, Mom paid for the phone anyway. But that very first night, I woke up suddenly at 3 a.m. to my bedroom door being actually kicked inwards and my dad screaming at me, my phone in his hand. Apparently, he wasn't happy that I had been messaging my friend about the sleeping situation. He then told me he didn't want me in his sight. I'd like to say this is where the story ends, but I'm still typing. This would happen every other night when I would sleep at his house, and my sisters were traumatized by the yelling and screaming they would hear each night he decided to look at my phone. Each morning, my phone would be unlocked, with gallery, messages, contacts, and WhatsApp open. It became the norm for me to delete message threads and just tell him nobody spoke to me, but that instead aroused his suspicion that I was lying to him. I couldn't change my phone's PIN because he'd ask for it in case of emergency. It eventually drew to the point where, after years of abuse, I had enough. In January 2020, I gave up on it all and decided to not continue living. I was caught by the police, arrested, and taken to a ward where the first person I saw was my dear sweet mum, who told me that I didn't have to live with my dad anymore, both the lowest and highest point in my life. Fast forward to a few months ago, my younger sister decided she wants to live with Mum permanently like I do. Dad doesn't take this news lightly. He insists on a friendly talk with me and my sister in a public park so we can arrange what she wants. Surprise, surprise. I was invited for alternate reasons. Dad begins yelling at me about how bad of a son I've been to him as a dad that's done nothing but his absolute best to raise me, so I remind him of the abuse. It's how my dad raised me. There's nothing wrong with bollocking every now and then. I stand up for myself this time. I yell back at him about how he dares sit there and demand respect and appreciation for nothing but allowing your children to sleep in your house and traumatizing your son because you feel insecure. He demands I respect him, and I tell him I never have. That breaks him. He begins crying about how he's felt and how he's been contemplating not continuing living. I begin to soften, but as I do, he says, and it's all because of how you kids have treated me. I tell him he's a scumbag and a jerk for trying to guilt-trip his kids by threatening such an act that my sister won't be staying with him, and we leave. When he comes to pick up our youngest sister, he doesn't speak to us, and he doesn't acknowledge we exist. My sister and I are finally safe. Edit. For those of you that asked, my youngest sister still goes to my dad's house regularly and is the golden child of the bunch. She looks the most like him and is the most impressionable. Regarding how she's treated, we ask her every time she comes home from school how it was at her dad's house, and thankfully nothing has happened. She isn't shaky or hesitant in her responses, and she seems to genuinely enjoy being there just as much as she enjoys living here. In terms of child support and the legal side of things, my mom took him to court a few weeks ago because he hadn't been paying any of the money he owed for both my sisters. I'm 18, legally exempt. However, it's been discovered he's been committing tax fraud for years due to his job being cash in hand, so he's on his way to staying behind bars for no less than a couple of years. I'm a 21-year-old female living with my mom, 56 years old, and my sister, 25 years old, I work part-time and clean houses on my days off to cover my expenses for school, rent, and other necessities. Currently, I have managed to save up around $12,000. While my mom and sister have well-paying jobs, they struggle with budgeting and have poor spending habits. Recently, I discovered that my hidden safe, cleverly disguised as a book, had gone missing. To protect my savings from my mom and sister, who had previously taken money from me on 2 separate occasions, I had stashed my cash in this secret safe. Although I forgave them in the past, I'm not naive enough to think they wouldn't do it again. To ensure evidence, I purposely marked each bill by bending the right-hand corner, taking pictures and videos of the bent bills, the safe, and the numbers on some of the bills. To my dismay, I found the broken safe discarded in the garage bin, covered with a piece of cardboard. Coincidentally, on that day, my cousin, 24 years old, had visited, and I noticed her carrying a piece of cardboard, which turned out to be from a ginger ale box, while my mom and sister were already outside. I had just entered the kitchen to wash my hands after getting off the bus and planned to shower as soon as I got home to minimize any potential exposure to COVID. I became suspicious and decided to check my mom's and sister's wallets, where I found the bills with the bent corners. Gathering photographic and video evidence, I formulated a plan to confront them. The following day, when our extended family gathered at my aunt's house, we were all engaged in conversation. I took the opportunity to ask my cousin about the cardboard incident at my mom's house involving her and my sister. She claimed they were spray painting some frames for my mom's furniture refurbishing hobby. I accepted her explanation and went to retrieve my bag containing the broken safe along with my mom's and sister's wallets. Returning to the gathering, I dropped the broken safe in front of my cousin, who seemed surprised but remained silent. Then I turned to my sister and confronted her, stating that she definitely knew what it was. Everyone's attention was now on us. Displaying the gathered pictures and videos, I even opened their wallets, revealing my money with the bent corners. One particular picture clearly showed the numbers on the bills that matched the ones in their wallets. My cousin's mom immediately admonished her daughter for stealing from family, leaving most of the family speechless. However, my mom, sister, and cousin attempted to defend themselves. At that point, I generously announced that I wouldn't involve the police immediately, but instead gave them a month to repay what they owed me. I also made it clear that I would be moving out. I apologized to my aunt for the inconvenience caused and returned home, promptly installing a lock and chain on my bedroom door. As an update, I've decided to open a savings account and get a credit card on Monday to better manage my finances. In a positive turn of events, my aunt, who hosted the family gathering, personally reimbursed me for the money my mom and sister took. She has given them additional time to repay her and has prepared a contract to pursue legal action if necessary. Understanding the stress this situation has caused me, my aunt discouraged me from filing a police report and assured me that she would handle it. Furthermore, my other aunt, my cousin's mom, contacted me again and informed me that she will be selling my cousin's iPad, Nintendo Switch, and games to help repay me by the end of the month. For the time being, I am staying in my friend's basement until I find a more permanent living arrangement. My friend's parents have kindly offered me a reduced rent, and I plan to reciprocate by baking cupcakes and cakes for them occasionally. I needed to upgrade to a new laptop for university, leaving me with the dilemma of what to do with my old broken one. Despite its good overall condition, an unfortunate incident occurred when a shelf toppled onto it, causing the screen to shatter. I decided to have it repaired and sell it since it was still capable of handling daily tasks effectively. During a family meeting, I mentioned my plan to sell the laptop, which prompted an entitled aunt to interject. Entitled, "Aunt, if you're selling it, why don't you give it to my kid instead?" Me, I'm not sure. Would you be willing to pay for it? I can offer you a family discount considering it's for your child. Entitled, "Aunt, but didn't you say the screen is broken? I won't pay for something that's broken for my kid." Nee, all right, what if you cover the cost of fixing it? Then you can keep it. I thought it was a great compromise, considering it was for my cousin. I didn't want to profit from my family, and I knew my cousin would benefit from using it for years to come. Entitled, Aunt agreed, and I proceeded to have it repaired. However, The mistake I made was paying for the repairs myself. My aunt had promised to reimburse me once everything was fixed and back to its original state. Fast forward a few weeks, just before the new school year, I successfully fixed the laptop. I carefully packed it in its original box, along with the charger and relevant documents. After formatting it, the laptop looked brand new and ready for its next user. When I approached EA to collect the reimbursement, I realized I had left the laptop in the car. I asked her to pay me back approximately $300 for the screen replacement, but she flatly refused. Entitled, "Aunt, you said you'd give it for free." Nay, no, that's not what I said. I clearly mentioned that I would give it to you if you covered the cost of the screen replacement. I went ahead and repaired it entirely for your convenience. Entitled, "Aunt, yes, but we're family. You're horrible for asking me for money. It's for your cousin. Besides, it has those ugly stickers on it. It looks awful. My cousin actually liked the stickers and asked me to leave them on." Nay, fine. Then you're not getting it. I apologize. She became furious, but fortunately, I had left the laptop in the car. Otherwise, she might have snatched it away and kicked me out of her house. I feel sorry for my cousin because they genuinely need a computer, but after covering the repair cost out of my own pocket, I don't want to give it away for free. I'd rather sell it and recoup the repair expenses, along with a little extra. The money will contribute to my university funding and any necessary expenses. It feels impolite, but I believe it's the best course of action. A few months later, I managed to sell the laptop. However, when the entitled aunt discovered this, she became extremely angry and started spreading rumors among other relatives, accusing me of denying them a computer for their child's education. Being related to this woman is truly challenging. Yesterday, I had an interesting encounter at Walmart that perfectly exemplified the helpful nature of my city, which happens to be ranked as one of the top places in the U.S. to retire. As I was browsing through the aisles, a frail elderly lady caught my attention. Judging by her appearance, I estimated her age to be in the 90s. With a gentle voice, she approached me and kindly requested, "Excuse me, could you please grab that bag of flowers for me?" Without hesitation, I responded with a warm smile. Sure, I'd be happy to help. I swiftly retrieved the bag and placed it in the kid's seat of her shopping cart, ensuring it was easily accessible for the cashier to scan without any hassle. Grateful for my assistance, the elderly lady expressed her sincere appreciation, and we engaged in a brief but pleasant conversation for about 30 seconds. However, our interaction took an unexpected turn when a voice from behind interrupted the tranquility. It belonged to a woman who appeared visibly annoyed. Impatiently, she demanded, "All right, you've spent enough time on her. Where can I find the coffee creamer?" Momentarily perplexed, I turned to face her and responded, "Pardon me." Instantly, I realized that I was about to become part of one of those infamous "I don't work here" Karen moments, which are all too common in our area. The woman, whom I now referred to as Karen, persisted in her misguided assumption, asserting, "It's your job to assist all customers, not just her." The elderly lady, however, swiftly came to my defense. Calmly, she retorted, "He doesn't work here. He was simply lending a hand to an old lady because his parents raised him right, unlike some people." A tangible silence hung in the air, and then the remarkable old lady turned and gracefully walked away. In my imagination, she departed with an air of confidence as if donning pixelated sunglasses. It was as if she were striding towards the sunset while the iconic theme from The Mandalorian played in the background. Undeniably, she exuded an aura of undeniable coolness as she vanished from sight.